Hey there, how are you today? My name is Dana Damara, and you have landed on Astrocast. This is your report for the full moon in Libra, full moon eclipse happening in Libra on March 25th at midnight. Such crazy, amazing, transformative times we're in right now. Um, there's so much to share with you in this report, so I'm going to try to stay on task. I will say that for those of you listening, I'm assuming you have an interest in full moons and how the energy of the cosmos affect you. For those of you maybe kind of new to the game and you're thinking, how does this really affect me? Does it really affect me? Is this really real? I'm going to start off by saying that the moon makes the waves. So when we subscribe to the fact that the moon makes the waves, we can remember that we are so much water. We're water and electricity. So we are absolutely, absolutely 100% affected by this energy. Now, to what extent we allow ourselves to believe in it or subscribe to it is totally up to you. Here's what I'm going to say is that I leave my house without reading my horoscopes. I trust that I have divine will. I have my own will over choices that I make. And I believe that there is something so much bigger than us that we can't always see, even with the best of telescopes. So I kind of bring this information to you from that standpoint, right? And as I read this, I want you to understand and remember that every single person listening to this is going to be affected differently by the full moon anytime I share this information. And that's because, first of all, how we're listening, of course, as humans, what we're willing to take in, but also because our natal chart, our birth chart, lines up differently with every single day of astrology. So me and my best friend, we may not feel this energy similarly. So keep that in mind as you listen. This is a general overview. And I'll just say it now. If you ever want to know how your chart enmeshes with what's happening now, reach out to me. I'm happy to read your chart. Here's what I want to say. So much. Big transformations happening right now. If you didn't already listen to last week's forecast, please do. We have a lot shifting, and if that's not happening for you personally, if you're kind of skating along in life and everything is great and content and perfect, then don't go looking for transformation because it will come to you when it's time. Okay. But here's what I want to say. With the energy the way it is, this full moon lunar eclipse, first of all, it's happening in the sign of Libra, and I'm going to dive into what that means. But secondly, I want to point out that it is actually, the moon is just about conjunct to the south node. Okay. And south node is representative of our past or things that we need to leave behind. The north node is where we're going. So it's attributes we need to develop, right? But the north node and the south node aren't planets. They are points on the astrological wheel. And we experience an eclipse when the sun and the moon get close to these nodes. So we have, and almost always, 99% of the time, a lunar eclipse is followed by a solar eclipse, or a solar eclipse is followed by a lunar eclipse. It's just the way the wheel rolls. So I want to share with you kind of what's going on and the different aspects and how this can or cannot potentially affect you. So first of all, it's a full moon in Libra. Okay, so when we think about Libra, well, first of all, with the South Node, this is all about endings. This is about things ending. I don't know how else to say it. We are in a space of shifting. This is the first eclipse of the new year of 2024. We're headed toward Mercury in retrograde. So I don't know if you're feeling that energy, but I work with a lot of people that are feeling this. There's just endings happening. There's just transformation. And what do we do as a species, as humans? Sometimes when things start to transform or things start to fall away, we grasp. We're like, oh my gosh, I have to hold on to this, but we end up being dragged. So what I'm going to say is a big theme for this full moon is acceptance. Just accepting that things are going to start to fall away, and maybe instead of grasping, asking yourself like why, how is this supporting me is actually a better thing than why. So this is an eclipse season. We call it eclipse season because they happen at certain times of the year, and this is part of the bigger energy back from April of 2023. So if you have been working on something or thinking about something since April 2023, you're going to start to get more answers around this topic. It will potentially close around October 2024 when we experience our next eclipse, or even all the way up to March 2025. So just know that, everything happens in a season and a cycle, and that's just, we are all part of that. So keep in mind the scales of Libra. So here's why it's a full moon. Actually, let me just show you this here. So the sun is here at 5 degrees in Aries, and then directly across it is the moon in Libra. So that signifies a full moon. When the moon meets the sun, it will be a new moon. Okay. And then you'll see the North Node is right here at 15 degrees. And then you'll see Chiron here at 18 degrees. So a lot of this energy is really around healing. It's healing ancestral lines. It's healing our own internal narratives. It really is about healing on a individual level, but also on a collective level. And so remember that the scales of Libra, they represents balance, right? So when we feel like something is out of balance, what do we try to do? We try to create balance, and that's what Libra is all about. In particular, Libra deals with relationships. So this could be relationships with others, and it could be related to how much we're giving in relation to how much we receive. So is there an imbalance in what you're offering and what you're receiving, or what you're receiving and what you're offering? Same, right? This also has to do with paying attention to your value system. So, and part of that is because of where Venus is placed. Excuse me, I'll get to that. But part of that's where Venus is placed. And we want to really own our value in this life, so that owning our value will actually create an alignment of the relationships in our life. And so what I've found personally in my life is that when I start to up level my value, which doesn't mean I charge more or anything like that, but it's just how I spend my time, right? Like, how are you spending your time? Who are you spending your time with? When you up level your value system, there's this period, I believe, of like limbo where maybe you're kind of like, oh my gosh, well, I should just go and do this thing because I don't want to be alone, right? Or I really want to hang out with that friend because I don't want to hurt their feelings. But you don't, you stay in that limbo because there's a space. That's the space we're in right now. We're in this space of evaluating our relationships and evaluating how we value ourselves. And let me say this too, when I talk about relationships, yes, of course, it's the other. It's the other people in our life, but let's keep in mind that those other people in our life are really just reflections of our own self. So really, that other person in your life is a reflection of some sort of narrative that you have going on in your own heart space and in your mind. I hope that makes sense. So every time there's every relationship that we have in our life is a reflection of who we think we are. So we don't have to go out and change other people. We just have to initiate a change here in our narratives and our beliefs. So those are the relationships that I'm really talking about, like the relationships you have with certain ways that you value or devalue yourself, the ways in which you define harmony or disharmony, the way you define creating chaos and how important that is to you, right? To distract yourself, like whatever it is, it's not really the other, it's you. So that's the energy of this. And so in this full moon, what we want to do is we want to ask ourselves, okay, what is this relationship actually teaching me? What is this person teaching me? Okay, what's underneath that? What's underneath that? What's underneath that? What's underneath that? And then you get to the piece that's within you. That's the transformation. So you can take a whole, you know, I would say with this full moon, really reassess some of those narratives that go on in your own mind and let go of some of them that are just pointless or not helpful, that don't really support you in where you want to go or where you see yourself going. Every full moon is about releasing. It's just the way it is. It's amplified energy. This one in particular is about letting go of relationships that don't serve you. Because why? Because you want to experience peace, you want to experience harmony, you want to experience balance, you want to experience a sense of deep cooperation, of oneness that you know is like true on a deeper level. So during this full moon, acceptance, allowing transformation to happen, and really being fully present with your emotional state when you're around certain people. It's just, it's so important. It's a presence is so important. Um, and allowing people to be just the way they need to be and looking internally for that shift. Um, the reason why I say there's this is really around value, and I want to find here it is. So Venus is going to conjunct Saturn, and let me show you that just so you can see it, because I'm going to share a little bit with these aspects. So Venus is right here, and then Saturn is right here, and it's in Pisces, right? So when Venus is sitting with Saturn, basically, first of all, Venus rules Libra. So Venus is ruling this particular full moon lunar eclipse, right? Libra is ruled by the planet of Venus, and this is the goddess of love, of abundance, of money, of values, our rules over our values. So under this eclipse, you really want to think about what you value in life and see if your values in certain relationships are being met or unmet. And then being honest and really asking yourself, like, what do I need to shift within me that actually reflects more of who I believe myself to be? And because Venus is conjuncting Saturn, okay, whatever you start to create right now or let go of in order to make space for, this is longevity. This is you setting yourself up for what's next. But with this full moon lunar eclipse sitting with the South Node, you have to let go of something first. Like if you're just holding on to everything, first of all, you're not going to be able to see what's right in front of you. And secondly, things are going to get heavy, right? Now, the sun right here is sextiling Pluto, and the moon is trining Pluto. That's what happens when we have a full moon. If it makes one aspect, the other one makes one is sextile, one is trine. Those are both very harmonious, but this is a lot of transformation, deep transformation. It's maybe more emotionally unsettling. Maybe you uncover some deep truths, something that you haven't seen before in yourself. Let's just pretend like it's only you in the picture, because it is. Recognize some of those deeper truths about yourself, like how you got to the position you're in, and then now know that you have the sovereignty in order to change that. And I think one of the best things you can do with this moon, one of the best things is to visualize where you want to go, because Venus is also sextiling Jupiter. Here's Venus, here's Jupiter. And it's also sextiling Uranus, which is just right here, which means Jupiter is conjunct Uranus. So you have Venus and Saturn right here, and then Jupiter and Uranus here. So Uranus is change. Uranus is liberation. So letting go, being free. So, when we look at Uranus as a liberator, I like to look at Uranus as a liberator of the lower mind thinking, and actually allowing us to make space for higher mind thinking and seeing that bigger picture. So the fact that it's sitting Jupiter conjuncting Uranus is really making space for things to happen, right? And Venus sextiling Jupiter is one of the most positive, most fortunate aspects that we can experience. Venus is love, money, abundance, moving forward, by the way. And Jupiter is expansion, wisdom, knowledge, right? Moving forward, by the way. So there's a couple ways to interpret this. One is to know that you have luck on your side if you choose to believe it. And in order to initiate that luck, gratitude. Don't complain about stuff that's falling away. I heard myself complaining the other day and I was like, bite your tongue. Things are shifting to show you something. They're showing you something. So instead, find a sense of gratitude for whatever it is that's leaving your life. Bless it, let it go on its merry way, and then just be open to what's next. That's this full moon. And this is going to set you up for that new moon solar eclipse that's coming up on April 8th. That one's aligned with the new moon. I mean, with the north node, not the south node. And it is aligned with the new moon. It's a new moon solar eclipse. So I think, transformation, gratitude, relationships, acceptance, just be in that space and that cauldron of allowing things to fall away so that they can come together in a different way. I want to say thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you soon. Namaste.